Yo, what is up guys? King of Underworld back at you with, finally back at you with part 3 to What If Deku was the descendant of Rengoku. So, sorry about the, short hiatus. I was on a bit of a break. I usually take a day gap before this past week. However, I decided to take a tumble down quite a nasty flight of steps, so I've been told it's probably better just to rest up for a bit before going back to doing recordings. Because I have to move around a lot, and that's not good. Yeah, hold on, let me turn the music down so you can hear me better. But, yeah, without further ado, let's get finally back into this series. So, in the last part, Tojiro had just come out on top of the entrance exams, defeating, not just one, but many fierce opponents. That being a bunch of, well-equipped robots that was designed to keep anybody with a quirk at bay, and those who had mastery or control over their quirk would excel. And seeing as he didn't have a quirk to control, he instead focused on his mastery of a blade and hand-to-hand combat. Because, what would happen if the sword were somehow able to become unusable? You're defenseless. No. When you're Tojiro, you decide to take martial arts combat, just in case. And his father was quite adamant on feeling the styles, and that's why he was known as the unusual practitioner. So, learning martial arts was able to help him break down a few robots before picking up a piece of the armor and using it as, a unique blade. Not too heavy and not too light, but just enough for it to be suitable for his style, as well as the length of the blade. So, he picked up the blade and started slicing through the robots with quite a lot of ease. In fact, even, one teacher in particular comments on it. That being Aizawa, as he had seen that practice of sword, as when he's not using the styles of the flame-breathing technique, he was often using the unusual sword style that was heavily criticized back in its day, as it wasn't traditional kenjutsu. But that unusual, unorthodox style he had seen from, a pro hero before. That being Tojiro's father. And as he made his way through his robot, he encountered the large 0-point robot, with odds that seemed to be basically unbeatable. He unleashed his most powerful techniques, using a combination attack of Rengoku and the Phoenix Flame technique. I probably got the thing wrong because I don't know exactly what I'm calling it, but I remember calling it something, so please just give me a little bit of a mulligan on that one. So, yeah. And after that recap, let's jump right into it. After celebrating quite substantially with his family and indulging in a great feast as a reward for all of his hard work, he finally stood in front of the very same academy he was striving to become a hero. As, he learned from his very own mother as well as his father. But his mother put this ideal in him, that he should use his strength as well as his technique to protect others. And so, he did. He protected others by taking the bullying, protected others by averting attention to himself. In a way, he was already fulfilling his promise. He'd always protect those that were weak. And so now he stands ready in front of, UA, about to make history. And so, as the beginning of any good story, it starts with a step towards the future. As he starts walking through the UA's halls, getting a bit lost, as, Rengoku is known for not having the best sense of direction. However, he felt it in his soul, that the right place he needed to go would eventually reveal himself to him. So after wandering around for about 10 minutes or so, he finally found the door. As he commented, "Wow, that's quite a large door." As, it's Class 1A. So he opened it with great vigor and said, "Good morning." As well, the first person he immediately noticed was Bakugo, and says, "Ah, Bakugo, I knew you'd make it into this academy. I expect nothing less." As he goes, "Like I need any to hear about your expectations. Fucking quirkless loser." As well, do people actually, well, no, a few people actually, stand up and said, "Quirkless? Have you not seen him?" As he goes, "The fuck you talking about?" As Jiro, Kaminari, Ida, and somebody else who just walked in behind him, they comment on this fact, saying he's not quirkless at all. Before they go to explain, he boldly states out loud, "No, Bakugo is right. I am in fact quirkless." As they look at him with a sheer dumbfounded look, actually a bigger one than what they gave Bakugo. He says, "Yes, well, it might seem that my technique resembles that of flames. That is only a technique. I give off the aura of flames. The heat is merely just me striking my blade so fast that it creates pressure and heat, especially through my increased strength as well as the speed of my attacks." As they wonder how this could actually be, as they try and question him more, as he's happy to oblige, however he can't explain everything in full. As he would say, the dragon you see was a technique of, well, he'd say of his creating, as he didn't want to really bring attention to what he, towards everything. Because, well, what people think if, these techniques that you think would be made up actually are real? Does that mean demons are real? And so on and so forth. So he would say, the technique was designed by me and refined. I have 9 different techniques that I can use in my arsenal. As, well, Kamino would say, "So you're telling me that that ultra fast attack that you used in front of me was..." "Yes, that was a technique." As he says, "Awesome, I didn't know swords could do that." As, well, he said, "Yes, they are quite a brilliant weapon when used." He says, as Kaminari said, "I wish I had a sword like that." As, well, he would actually freeze for a second and say, "Well, like I say, a sword is an extension of your body. Doesn't mean you can so easily pick one up and use it. I personally wield it with competence and, well, pride. Is surely going to be able to wield the blade with ferocity. However, too much pride in his own abilities can lead to his own downfall. Too little faith in his blade could lead to him misusing it and breaking. Too much reliance on it will cause it only to hurt you." As some people fall silent, however, Bucket says, "Ah, yes, you're going on about that bullshit of your swords." He says, "Unless one can talk to me, I don't believe it has a soul, or can choose the right person. They're just punched out metal sticks and that's all they are." As, well, no, not Rengoku, sorry. Tojiro would say, "While that is technically true in a standpoint, there's a lot more to blades than you simply give them credit for." As he would say afterwards, "However, I would be happy to debate this with you after we get informed by our teacher." As he'd say, "Are you blind? There's nobody here." As he'd say, "I'd consider looking behind me, Bakugo." As, well, Aizawa was laying there in his sleeping bag, hanging just outside the door. As he's peeking in, he says, "Oh, you finally noticed. Took you 7 seconds to get Well, to get your ass in gear. That's not good. To reprimand this, get in your PE uniforms and head out to the field now. But, but sir, what about the ceremony? See, UA isn't like any other academies or, well, schools you might be given everything to because you're unique and powerful. No, I took this job with the one capability. I run this class how I see fit, when I see fit. Anybody who wants to argue with me can pack their stuff and leave now. So everybody was, well, paralyzed by fear for a second, except Tojiro. As he just said, "Come on, everybody, let's not argue with him. Clearly, he's not really in the mood for any back chat. The sooner we get this done, the sooner we can get this over with, and we can go back to our normal studies." Some people, after hearing his calm and confident words, actually follow him, because unlike Kyojiro, he might have been a bit blunt in his approach. However, he was a kind soul, and actually was a very leading figure in the Hashira. So everybody decided to follow him. Bakugo, being stubborn, just says, "Don't tell me what to do," as he nudges his shoulder past and walks by him, giving him a bit of a glare as he does so. Says, "There you go, thanks Bakugo for agreeing with me." Says, "Shut the as he walks past, and then, well, they adamantly did not like talking when they get to the changing rooms. As they were talking amongst themselves, as they saw a few, well, how built Tojiro was. As Kirishima comments on this first, obviously because his manly appearance. Sorry, I just like to throw in those kinds of things. As he says, "Hey bro, what? Damn, you're jacked. What kind of training did you do?" He says, "Well, considering that I'm quirkless and, well, if I don't have a quirk, I develop my body. If I can't develop my body any further, I develop my sword skills. However, I see that as a limited in both. I must train my body as if it is a blade, and I must train my blade as if it is my body, leading me to new heights. So this is all a result of hard work and training. As well, this is a man who is the descendant of one powerful Kyojuro Rengoku, while not being his biological and, well, while not being his direct ancestor, he's still an ancestor of his family, therefore having the unique genetics of being fucking insane. As he was built like a brick wall, and he looked like one too. However, he looked like the gates of hell with the flaming red hair of his. As, well, Ayama actually comments on this and says, "Ah, it's a beautiful hair. May I ask, who dyed it for you?" As he said, "Oh, this is natural." As he goes, "What? That hair is natural? I cannot believe it. It's too perfect." As, well, Tojiro said, "Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable even to me. But apparently, according to my father, this was because of an ancestor eating too much of a certain food. Well, too much tempura, apparently." Some people just laughed it off as a joke. However, he was completely serious, and people could see that, as they go like, "Oh, okay." As, well, he would just put his arms on his hips and then say, "Well, let's not dawdle about. It's time we head out." Some people start rushing as they start following his lead, as they're a bit nervous to face down the scary teacher that is Ozawa. As you do not piss off a sleeping and very tired old man. I'm gonna say old man, but he's like in his 30s. And so everybody followed out. as, well, Rengoku's uniform was a bit small. And if you're wondering why it'd be a bit small when they asked his details, seeing as Rengoku trains his body a bit too much. In the month that would lead between his the entrance exams and the actual participating people that would be joining your way is a month difference. He's still in his peak of growth. Therefore, his body is growing quite significantly faster as he's eating a very healthy diet, as well as training as much as possible. So he grows even bigger than his specifications, as it seems to be the only his upper body, as the pants can stretch. Shirts, however, can stretch to a certain point. So, the thing kept slipping up and was about to tear at the seams, as he said to Aizawa, Sensei, I'd like to request a new uniform. These are all standard issue. Taking complaints up with the faculty if you have any sort of complaints with them. Oh no, I don't have a complaint with the uniform whatsoever. It's, actually the size of it. What do you mean? We asked you your size and tailored it to each and every individual. Well, see about that, I gave you my size a month ago. So you're saying within a month that your body has grown to the point where it can't fit into it? Yeah. As due to the concentrated breathing technique he's learned, his body is obviously growing a lot faster as it's recovering, metabolizes food faster, as well as increases the blood flow, making sure that everything is healing faster, not delaying any growth, instead actually increasing it. So, you would obviously have a boosted growth development. So, there we go. Explained. Therefore, says, if you can bear with it, we'll get you a new one issued as soon as we possibly can. As you just said, okay, but it's gonna limit my abilities. Can I just take it off? He says, sure, whatever. It's not like I really care. As, he kept trying to move his arms up to take it off, however, it was glued to his body. So, he just decided, you know what, instead of trying to do the easy way out, he just grabs about the collar and rips the thing off using 2 fingers and just slicing the thing basically off with pure strength. So, off goes his shirt. As soon as I had any alleviated pressure, it just burst off him. As it revealed, obviously the guys had seen his figure, but the girls did not, as they were actually some of them were quite a bit of fans, as obviously Mineta was caught by Rengoku, more like he was stared down upon, so he never actually tried anything, as he had a very intimidating aura. So, that explains why, and as he can see, Mineta can clearly see all the girls are, blushing. Even Toru, who is invisible, you can see a visible blush. I don't know how that works, but it does. It's anime. Fuck off. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. So, he gets ready as, he basically picks it up and says, sorry, I just meant to try and take it off. Says, that's okay, as he tosses the ball quite quickly, just to test him, see what a quirkless person can really do, especially one that seemed to show a lot of promise, as he caught it without even flinching. He says, nice reflexes. Now let's see what you can really do. Step up to that plate over there and chuck the ball as hard as possible. He gets into the ring, and then channels total concentrated breathing. If you're wondering why I say channel instead of him naturally doing it, he does learn to do it subconsciously, it's more of a turn-off thing than anything else. How should I explain it? He can do it subconsciously when he's sleeping, so therefore his body heals a lot quicker. But when he's awake, it's less of a he can turn it on and off. Obviously, when he's using it for sporting purposes or training, he'll keep the breathing on. When he's just eating, he'll keep it normal. So he starts activating the total concentrated breathing. So he flexes back his arm, gets into a pitching position as he basically imbues the very fast and swift attributes of the fire as well as the destructive force behind it as he launches the ball with such ferocity it looks like a meteor. As well, the ball goes quite far. Farther than you would expect for a guy that doesn't have a quirk. As I even tested this theory, seeing whether or not he was just lying. As he activated his quirk, as nobody seemed to notice. However, Aizawa noticed one thing. He doesn't have one. As nothing seemed to affect his performance, nothing seemed to change. He could tell by reading his movements and his very calm demeanor that nothing seemed to be off. As he had a clear sensation. That's of the total concentrated breathing, removing any excess thoughts. So the ball was sent flying with a fiery aura surrounding it. Faint, but still there. As it flies a total of 3,600 meters. As people were just awestruck. As, well, this ball was sent flying by a guy who doesn't have a strength-based quirk further than they think they can even possibly get it. However, Bakugo was quite shocked, but he didn't want to lose, so he tried to ramp it up and, well, let's just say, try and beat him. The word is try. His body is trained, yes. His quirk, not so much. However, Tojiro never had a quirk to begin with. He trained his body, his mind, and most importantly his skills. Therefore, when Bakugo tried to, he could only get a pitiful 1,600 meters. Well, almost half that of Tojiro's. As he was actually quite pissed off and even tried to storm at him, but as Ozawa was about to wrap him up in his binding cloth to stop him from attacking, he noticed that, Tojiro was completely still, blank and empty. As Bakugo swung down, he was blocked. He was blocked. His arm swung to the side as he was using a circle block technique that was known in karate. As he grabbed his shirt and then twisted him to the ground, pulling his arm behind him, away from him, as therefore not to have any explosions erupt in his face. As he was pinning him down with a solid grip. As he said, "Bakugo, please refrain from doing anything too hasty. You don't want to be expelled by the teacher, now do you?" As he looked at Aizawa, eyes glowing red, and hair standing on its end. As he just said, "Release me." As Tojiro obliges, as he knew he was not going to do anything wrong. Well, anything worse. As Aizawa comes up to him and says, "Do that shit one more time in my class. And you go. No ifs, ands, or buts. I want to hear whether or not he might have mocked you. I don't want to hear whatever sort of thing has to do with your own pride or ego. You do not attack a student in my class. You are heroes, not some petty little thugs pretending they can play hero. Do I make myself clear?" Bakugo Yes. Yes, sir. Good. Now get in line, and don't make this shit happen again. As Ozawa thanks Tojiro for not escalating the situation any further by counterattacking. He was only defending himself and was not using a quirks, obviously, so there'll be no need for him to be written up or asked about anything as well. So it went as normal. Until we got to, well, a bunch of the strength tests as, well, he was topping all of them. Speed, he used his quick draw technique obviously without the swords, well that being, well, that one being form number 1. Or should I say first form, unknowing fire, as he could cover that distance quite quickly, as it was only a 100-meter dash, or I think 50-meter dash. That was still in range of his strike, as he got into position, as he even got into one that was drawing that of a sword. People were saying, what is he doing? As one obviously had seen this attack, that being Kaminari, as he says, just wait. He says, wait for what? Wait for him to try and draw a sword that's nowhere? As you'll see. As the marker goes off, as, well, in Tojo's head he said, first form, unknowing fire. As he blitzes forth a sudden burst of speed, leaving behind seemingly scorch marks in the ground where his feet once laid, as he cleared the goal faster than Ito ever could. As before he had known it, well, he was already at the finish line. As everybody was quite shocked as they wondered what this kind of burst of speed was, as Ito was even shocked as well, asking, oh, what was that? He says, that's one of my sword techniques. That is a sword technique? Well, let me just break it down for you. The first form, well, the first technique I have, or kata, allows me to borrow upon a quick burst of speed, using primarily my legs. However, I launch forward with as much burst of energy as I can, basically kicking off the ground with as much force as I possibly can muster. Then push my body forward as to not drag myself down, trying to keep my speed, keeping my body relatively as tucked in as possible to reduce the amount of resistance. Therefore, I go quicker, and then I would usually strike somebody with a blade. So, well, after the explanation, Ida was just amazed and says, wow, such a legendary technique was able to outclass my own speed. As he would say, Totoro would say, well, yes, it did outspeed you this one time. It doesn't mean that it is faster than you. If I know that from how you suggested your quirk works, you go up by gears. Therefore, that's not your top speed. It's just my acceleration was faster than yours. So, don't worry about being slow. If you truly worry about it, work on it. Find any way possible. And maybe try and see if you can kick it into second gear before even starting off. That'd be my advice. As Ida takes this to heart and actually is quite moved by his advice. As he didn't even think of the possibility of switching gears before he even starts and trying to train his engine not to stall. As the rest of the strength competitions obviously go in Totoro's favor, except for the bull throw, of course, as Uraraka wins that one. It being, well, quite obviously, infinity. The sidesteps were close, caught between Mineta and, well, Mineta, Bakugo, and Totoro. However, Totoro managed to edge on top because his rapid succession of movements required him to be able to switch and sidestep a lot of attacks, as it was designed to battle demons, so they have a lot more, well, they have an increased speed and reflexes, more than that of any ordinary human. However, using total concentrated breathing allows him to move and react faster than, well, any normal human can. Therefore, he's able to jump side to side very, very quickly. Just nudging ahead of, well, the other two. Strength was, well, his strength was comparable to that of an Olympic level athlete, just being in middle school, as he now just entered high school, of course, seeing as he could almost crush the gauge, yeah, it was not really a matter of if he won, more like how much he won by. So, yeah, let's just say that wasn't much of a contest. Shoji was quite strong, of course, being that of the Doodly Arms quirk. Allows him to have 3 arms worth of strength in one. However, due to the fact that his intense muscle training and intense sword grip would need to be able to keep up with one another, he kind of crushed the machine, so... And bear in mind, spoilers of the manga, of course, but Kyojuro was able to hold Akaza. Akaza Upper Moon 3, one of the strongest physically, of course, aside from Kokushibo, of course. However, he was still one of the strongest demon moons, physically, and he was able to be held in place by Kyojuro after being pierced through the solar plexus. The nerve that usually would cause people to collapse, not being able to draw any strength, however, he was being held there until almost the sunrise, not budging an inch, not even being able to move. That's how strong he was. Now let's compare that to Shoji, who is just a regular human, albeit with a few extra limbs. So it wasn't really much of a challenge. However, let's just call the rest of the challenges, let's just call them quits, because, well, I think we all know how they would end up. So we go on to the next week as, well, All Might comes bursting to the door saying, "Aha! Good morning, boys and girls. I see that everybody is really excited for today's lesson. And what is that, you may ask? Well, hero training, of course, but not just any. A 2-on-2 mock battle, in fact, between the hero team and a villain team. Now, before we even move out there and try to begin, obviously, before you even ask to come to UA, you have to submit a design through the hero companies. We managed to approve all your designs and make them. After all, in the industry, they say clothes make the pros. So, let's try them on, and meet me out in Training Field Alpha." As everybody did. And he got out into the battlefield. As everybody was admiring their costumes, however, ones who stand out the most out of everybody's, even Bakugo's, was, well, Tojiro's, being that of an ancient samurai. Everybody was, well, quite shocked. Said, oh, rustic much? As, well, Sarah would comment, as it says, "Well, this is an old design that was designed by my older family members." As they say, "You don't say, huh? Well, was your family a bunch of swordsmen? Did they used to be ancient samurai that would slay demons or something?" As, well, Tejiro would laugh it off as a joke and says, "Yeah, maybe." But he would say that somebody in the family helped design some battleware that was both light enough to move around comfortably and flexibly, but also durable enough that it could take some minor bludgeoning and piercing damage. As the cape was of his own design as well, as well, that being his obi, of course. So, as well as a brand new sword, as everybody has seen his wooden, practice blade, or kendo blade. However, this one was a steel katana with a fiery red pattern, and as well as a flame hilt, as this was in fact actually restored by one of the greatest sword masters of, well, this time and era, that being one of the descendants of, well, the swordsmiths from the secret swordsmith village. Obviously it was not made of Nichirin, however it was made of a steel composite that was as strong if not stronger than Nichirin, but did actually have the same effect of being able to change color. However, it was due to his immense skill, as they did ask him to test it out to make sure it was comfortable to his standards, as, well, they can only know based on whether his grasp on it. They noticed that after swinging his sword for quite a while, his blade had turned a bright crimson red, as the little patterns along the blade's back had revealed themselves after this blood-red transformation. As he said, "This is a masterpiece. Thank you." Thank you. After all my years of forging swords and weapons, that has been my greatest. Order it with pride, okay? I will. I'll make you proud. Yeah, do whatever you want, kid. As he, sheathed the blade, as now he jumped back into the present time. As he would say that these were obviously slash, bullet, and even, quite strong, as their tensile weave of the same sort they use in ballistic assault vests, as well as even knife proof, just so that his own blade can't be used against him if it ever came to that point. And the little cloak around him was fireproof, so it could be used as, well, either shelter for somebody or cover. If he's ever in a burning situation, or even needed some extra equipment to face down somebody who has an ice quirk, he would have no trouble. So, this, in fact, as they were starting, they would draw lots, as All Might would declare that A Team and D Team would face off against each other. A Team was Ida and Bakugo playing the villains, and Izuku, well, no, not Izuku, I'm sorry, Tojiro Rengoku and Ochako Uraraka would be the heroes. As he quickly explains the rules of the heroes have to either incapacitate the villains or touch the bomb, and the villains have to either capture the heroes or, well, knock them out. With those clear-cut and concise rules set out for them, they had started. As, well, Uraraka starts asking for a plan, as he says, "Well, if I know Bakugo, and I know him well, he will most likely become straight for me." He says, "Really? Not even a plan?" And no, he does have a plan, however that plan is to take me down. So, in a sense, yes, he doesn't have a plan. That's what makes him more dangerous. He can be a wild beast sometimes. As he says, "So I'd like you to go around and try to avoid him. Try and make it up to Ida. While Ida is a great combatant, of course, your quirk, if you manage to touch him, will render him useless." And she says, "Okay, but what about you? Are you fine?" He says, "Oh, I've kept to myself all these years, trying to teach him the importance of hard work and protecting the weak." As, well, Uraraka splits off as Bakugo comes howling down and screaming through the building, as he finally sees his target, his hated rival, as he'd scream, "Tojiro!" He says, as he slowly draws his blade, Tojiro faces him down, gripping it as hard as he can in both hands, and says, "Bakugo, You finally arrived. Tojo, you bastard, you're going down. I'll show you how weak you truly are in that shitty sword style of yours. As it says, try as you might, however, I, the Flame Pillar, Tojo Rengoku, shall never fall. Flame Pillar, huh? Giving yourself a name? That's cute. As he starts swinging, as he goes, die! As he starts creating a palm-swing explosion right in front of his face. However, Rengoku managed to slide back after using his Howdy as a blast resistor, as he also accounted for that, as there was no visible mark that was left. As he slid back a bit. It says, quite a powerful blow indeed, Bakugo. However, you're too obvious. As he starts moving in, and Bakugo doing the same, as they start clashing each other. Obviously, Rengoku's using the back of his blade to not cause any harm, as it was. Obviously, he didn't want to cut off any limbs, as this was a real blade. So, of course, there was not going to be a reason. There's not going to be a reason for him to use the bladed side. So he starts by chanting, "First form, unknowing fire," as he appears right in front of Bakugo, swatting him towards the wall using the back of his blade, leaving a red mark across his upper chest, and it's sending him back. It's quite a bit, causing him to cough. Ah, you son of a bitch! That won't happen again. As then he starts setting his hand into a coupling motion as he starts charging an explosion that starts facing down Tojiro, as it starts almost engulfing him using the sheer fiery explosion. However, it seems that it wasn't exactly going to be easy for Bakugo to win this one. As he says, fourth form, blooming flame of undulation. As he swings his sword in a circular motion, as it completely engulfs the flames itself and seems to swirl around his blade as it fizzles out. He says, "What the? I charged an explosion for 5 seconds. How are you still up?" It says, "See about that, Bakugo. You're too obvious. You think that power is everything you need. You're unrefined, sloppy. I've been defending the weak while you've been pushing them down. I use my skills, and I develop them so I can protect people. You use those powers to lord it over others. I took every single one of those beatings. I never threw so much as a fist back towards you in harm. I merely just took the attacks and reversed them back on yourself. I never once raised a fist to you. I only sought to help those. You only sought to seek yourself more power." As he just says, "Don't make excuses. The only reason you allowed me to punch you down is because you're too weak." As Tojo would open her up to the idea, as it says, "I saw how much you seem to hate the fact that I was popular and getting attention even though I didn't have a quirk. I never wanted this. You wanted to be loved. You wanted to be acknowledged. However, instead of working your way into people's hearts, through kindness and respect, you seem to take it from them forcefully, gaining their admiration and fear. This is not the way of a hero, and this is why I alone stand as a pillar of hope. As he'd bring his blade down, as Bakugo would bring his bracelet down, as he'd release a pin, as he'd begin to pull it, as, well, Tojiro would get into a stance, as Bakugo released the pin on the grenadier braces, as, well, All Might is shouting, "No, Bakugo, don't do it!" As he pulled the pin, a chain of explosion that was, well, indescribable, bursting forth at the seams. The room around them was being torn to pieces, as he quietly muttered under his breath, "Fifth form, Flame Tiger!" As he cut through the flames itself as if he was, well, the one controlling them. As a giant, well, figurehead of a tiger started forming in the surrounding flames, as he swung down the blade, tapping Bakugo on the shoulder in between the neck and the collarbone, as all that force and fire was set back on him, setting him flying back towards the wall as the wall cracked as he, well, basically left an engraving inside of it. As that very same attack that was used against him, the same one that would represent all his harm towards others, all his pride and misdeeds, was seemingly thrown back in his face by someone who's using his power and skill to defend the weak. A perfect balance between good and evil. So, he moved up and started following up towards Uraraka, and he could hear a commotion going on as, well, Ida was, running around Uraraka getting quick strikes in succession. As, well, he sees that Uraraka is in a bit of a tight spot as she can not really attack as, well, Ida obviously didn't want to launch one big attack directly at her, knowing that if she got a touch off, even when she's hit, he's effectively down for the count as, well, he tried to play it safe by attacking her multiple times in succession, hopefully trying to take her down and confusing her to where he is. So, he was starting to wear her down as she was about to fall, as right as he was about to land a decisive blow that would have surely knocked her out, none other than Tojiro himself shows up and says, "As a pillar of justice, I must defend the weak, and the ones there who are hurt," as he used the back of his blade to catch against Ida's leg as he deflects it off, with a bright display of sparks going across, and says, "So, you've dealt with Bakugo, I see. However, no matter what, hero, you shall not prevail." It says, "Well, I admire your dedication to the role. However, being a villain does not suit you, Ida. So, let us end this play." As he brings his blade back, as, well, he would twist his body rapidly as he would call out, "Seventh form. Slashes of the Fire Dragon." As he starts twisting his body around in many different ways, bending in unusual ways, people wondering, well, what is this exactly? The seventh form, obviously, we've only been seen to have seen 6 of them. Well, we haven't seen a 7th, an 8th, nor a 6th form. 7th form is meant to be is meant to start the derivative of the Breath of Love. People who don't know, the Breath of Love is essentially the Breath of Fire, except more flexible and only accessible to Kanroji. So that explains why it's a lot more flexible. However, it's meant to represent a dragon's body, being a Western dragon, of course, being more serpentine in nature. Therefore, being able to reflexively dodge Ida's attacks as he bends around his rapid kicks in succession, and even lands a few cuts in key areas, chipping his armor and leaving cracks in places that it would be quite uncomfortable to move around it. As well, he would stand forth as he would go, "First form, a knowing fire," as he used a sudden a burst of speed that Ida could react thanks to the fact he's seen it. But it wasn't going to prepare him for what happened next. As he'd say, "Second form, rising scorching sun." As well, he kind of hit Ida in the head with, well, upward, I should say more. He sliced upwards and hit him in the chin, knocking him back. As then he followed up with third form, blazing universe, as it swung his sword down, smacking Ida directly in the head, knocking him out from blunt force. As well, the heroes to be declared the victors, as Uraraka, who's now, well, gaining her bearings again after passing out due to exhaustion, had said, "Did we win? Yeah, we won. I should start celebrating again. Hooray! Sorry, I'm too tired." As, well, he'd pick her up, basically hoist her over his shoulder, as well as hoist Ida on another one, and then drag Bakugo. As you're like, well, how's he able to drag three people along? According to the data books, Jojo was one of the strongest demon slayers in the entire Demon Slayer Corps. Well, only to obviously, well, let's just say Tenzin, the Sound Pillar, and the Breath of Earth Pillar, or Breath of Stone. So, Guillermo wasn't Guillermo, whatever it comes. The crying dude, it was obviously very strong, and he's able to push boulders around in it like it was nothing. So, yeah, very strong. So, he dragged them along and brought them back out, as then they eventually woke back up. Uraraka was easier to wake up, as she was already half awake, however, she was just too exhausted to move. And obviously a bit sick, as she tried to use her quirk a few times, and even did on an object, however, that was kicked out of the room. So, yeah. And this is where I'm going to leave off part 3. Again, I just want to say I'm very sorry for the uploads. I'm trying to balance work with, obviously, YouTube. Well, schooling with YouTube, of course. So, there's sometimes when I'm just not able to upload. I'm trying to upload as much as possible, but I'm coming up to exams. I've already had to take a very substantial test recently, so that's before I fell down the stairs, and that didn't exactly help afterwards. So I'm trying to take things slow at the moment, but I will be trying to release as many as possible as I possibly can, only if I have time to. But yeah, other than that, I hope you all enjoy this. All hope you enjoy this episode, of course. And yeah, I'm the King of Underworld, and have a good one, guys. I'll see you later.